We're hoping to start on time, and it's delightful to see everyone here tonight. Thank you for coming out. Can everybody hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, my name is Bonnie Powell, and you see my posts on, well, it's now called Fighting Ford Lawn Signs, Facebook group, and also a bit on Instagram. And my son John is here with me. We are doing the protests together. So this is our fourth protest. And I'm very thrilled to see our OPSU people here because we all know they are heroes. And they for sure were wearing these purple shirts at Ford Fest. I was there. I saw that. Wow, the Attorney General, shame on him. Shame. So I'm just going to start tonight with a little bit about Grassy Narrows. I think we have a representative from Grassy Narrows is coming here to hand out some literature. And I'm looking forward to going to their protest, which will be in September. Because unlike the Ford people who are treading water and trying to keep up with all the issues, their issues have been going on for decades. And when I was in their protest a couple years ago, it was incredible. And they take 2 years planning for these protests. So I was very dismayed when I saw our Prime Minister brush off the sounds of one of those protesters. Yeah, it's really sad. So our representative from Grassy will be coming around and giving handouts, but I wanted to start off with the land acknowledgement, which we haven't done before. At Queen's Park, on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. This land is subject to Treaty 13 and protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to share and care for this region collectively, taking only what we need and leaving enough for others. We raise our voices today against the exploitation of this land through MZOs and special economic zones that bypass environmental protections and fuel the climate crisis. We stand here under the full strawberry moon, known to the Anishinaabe as Ode Mingisis, the heartberry moon. The heartberry teaches us that true justice requires emotional honesty, courage, and a deep connection to the earth. To honor this teaching, we must move beyond words and step into heart-led action. We must fiercely defend the waters, forests, and wetlands from corporate greed, standing in solidarity with Indigenous land defenders. Please sign the petition. One of our 2 petitions here is about halting the undemocratic MZOs. Let our collective heart break for this planet fuel our courage to protect those ecosystems for the next 7 generations. And just a couple words for Grassy. Grassy Narrows First Nation has lived in the Kenora region since time immemorial. They were a self-sufficient fishing community until the Dryden Mill dumped mercury into their river system, destroying their way of life. Mercury remains in that river system today, and about 90% of the community is estimated to be living with the effects of mercury poisoning. For years, Grassy Narrows has been demanding that Doug Ford address decades of injustice. Instead, he does what he always does, ignores the problem and passes the buck. But Grassy Narrows has never backed down. They have maintained the longest running blockade in Canadian history, protecting millions of trees on their territory from being cut down. They have won major victories. They have won major victories that have benefited all of us. Their fight is a powerful reminder that we are stronger when we stand together. On Wednesday, September 23rd at 12 p.m., they will travel nearly 2,000 kilometers to march through the streets of Toronto, carrying photos of loved ones they have lost, demanding justice, and demanding a path to healing. And I'll be there, and I'm asking you to join me. So if you see our volunteer handing out the flyers, please scan it at RSVP to Grassy Narrows. Thank you very much. To highlight that we have had some successes. It's been 4 months for us, for John and I, of organizing, and you know, it gets discouraging sometimes just to see all of this overriding of our democratic rights. But a couple of things that have been good that have happened. Well, I'd have to say one of the highlights was our OPSU workers, OPSU CFO workers at the Ford picnic, putting the heat on. Yes. And another thing that's been very successful is getting us all together and starting to understand and make sense of the flooding of the zone that Elizabeth May spoke about at our first protest. She actually showed up here and she said, he's flooding the zone. And it's true. We are confused because there's so many things coming at us, and you're mad about this thing on Monday, and on Tuesday it's a different thing, and then they passed another law and you're like, oh my gosh, I need, you know, a glass of wine here. But but the great thing is that we're talking to each other, social media, we're meeting, we're forming smaller groups. I think it was 62 cities and towns in Ontario participated last month. So that's incredible. So we have had successes, and it's going to be a long road ahead to get this government out of office and regain our democratic rights that we so richly deserve. So we have brought people from a wide range of groups tonight, something a little new. We did a lot of talking about the island airport, and of course that's still heartily in our mind. When we did our survey of the last group that was here, 68 people responded, and it was split 20%, 20%, 20%. 20% really deeply care about fighting for health care. The other 20, it was Billy Bishop Airport expansion and the land grab. And then the other 20 was education. So those three things, I mean, there are 16 things, but those were the things that were top of mind to people. So we're hoping to do more targeted protests to the MPPs that can directly, or the MPs that can directly affect the outcomes for those concerns. So tonight we have with us someone who's going to talk about how we can avoid getting here in the first place. It's Adrienne Curry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm going to make a few mistakes on this because our list has changed. So we have Anna, and she's going to be talking. She's from the group called Climate Fast, and she's going to be talking about data centers.
And we're fighting against AI data centers here in Ontario. There are a long list of reasons why we don't want AI data centers here in Ontario. The first one being noise. You want to be able to sleep at night. We all do. And data centers can produce a lot of noise, including infrasound, which is noise that you can't hear. Anything above 50 hertz and below, you might be feeling nauseous, or you don't know why you're feeling sick. but data centers can produce infrasound, which is not great for our health. And there's no consultation on data centers right now in Ontario because no process for that exists. Shame. The next issue with data centers is pollution. So in Ontario, we have a relatively clean grid, but we all know it's getting dirtier by the day because we're transitioning currently, or the Ford government is moving towards a more fossil fuel dependent electricity system. So as Shane, and this, because the nuclear refurbishments are happening right now up until around 2035, any new electricity generated in Ontario will be predominantly from natural gas or fossil gas. Shame. And these data centers are coming in right now, so they're going to be powered by expanding natural gas and fossil gas generated electricity here in Ontario. It's bad for our planet. So that's another point. One other dangerous thing about data centers is on-site generated electricity. So if they're not connecting to the grid, they could be producing their own on-site generation from diesel or fossil gas, which is very bad for people's public health because they can release nitrogen oxide and carbon monoxide. So shame if they are producing their own on-site and making local people sick like we see in Memphis. The last, then there are many other reasons why. Surveillance, privacy, all sorts of issues could contribute to youth unemployment because AI will slowly replace people if we allow these data centers to come here. So shame on that if we're expanding that. So what do we need now? We don't have any massive data centers here in Ontario at the moment, which is great, but they're getting permits. So in Hamilton, we're seeing the data centers come and try to get the building permits. And that's the first level where they try to get their like permit in, is the building. And then they get the environmental, the water and all that other stuff. But the point is, we have an opportunity here to say no and have none built because they're not here yet. There's not a single one that's massive that's here in Ontario. So we need an immediate moratorium. Can we call it a moratorium? Okay, so call your MPPs, but also get organized in your local community to know if there's a local building, or there's a building permit being applied in your local neighborhood. Because that's the first step that they get before they do all the environmental assessments. So contact your local municipal councillor to find out if there are any data centers coming in your local area. In Ontario's context, Microsoft is getting favoritism from the Ford government. And Energy Minister Stephen Lecce has been very vocal on social media to favorite Microsoft, and they're building data centers all across Ontario. So we have one in Etobicoke, we have one in Vaughan, and there's, I'm not 100% sure, but there's one more Microsoft data center. So we know that there are 3 AI data centers by Microsoft coming to Ontario, or at least they're in the process of doing that. So, shame. And this is coming at a time when the FOIs are, now we can't ask for what's going on between communication between Microsoft and Stephen Lecce and whatnot. And there's a track record with this government between the Ford government and Enbridge. This is like all full circle. So Microsoft, we need to be keeping an eye on that, and I would not be surprised if Enbridge is also lobbying the Ford government to expand electricity generated from fossil fuels to benefit them, which will also help AI data centers. So this is all full circle. And the last, this is getting long, so I'll close it here. I want to point to three bills that are very important when it comes to AI data center expansion. The first is Bill 40. This puts a directive on our independent electricity systems operator and the Ontario Energy Board to prioritize economic growth when it comes to making energy decisions. And they're supposed to be protecting our electricity rates and making sure they're affordable. They're supposed to make sure our grids are reliable. They're not supposed to be thinking about prioritizing energy expansion. They just need to provide people with basic electricity at an affordable rate. And yet now the politicians, Energy Minister Stephen Lecce, also, and Doug Ford, have passed Bill 40, which will help AI data centers get built. And then the last bill is Bill 165. This happened 2 years ago in 2024. A lot of us remember it, but it all points to the loss of independence of the IESO and the OEB. And this is ultimately going to help AI data center infrastructure here in Ontario. So this is very scary stuff, and we need to come together, build at the grassroots level, and continue to do what we're doing here and get very smart. Because I know most of us here, or I'm sure a lot of us are from kind of the downtown core area. This is a relatively progressive area compared to other parts. We need to support our neighbors in Brampton, in Vaughan, in Mississauga, in Markham, where these data centers are going to get built, and they're relatively more conservative. So let's fight and think geographically and strategically. So thank you.
And so that's Anna from Climate Fast. So if you want to put that on your phone to get in touch with her and get involved about the data centers, I really encourage you to do that. Our next speaker.
So next we just all heard a little bit about exactly what we do not need at this moment. Now here to tell us what we might need is David from the Seniors Climate Action Network. David, come on up.
Tomorrow, 33 degrees. Wednesday, hotter still. These are unsafe temperatures. A while back, Ontario updated its heat advisory. It says, when it's hot, go somewhere cool.
Well, that makes sense.
We need air-conditioned apartments. We need workplace heat protections, not obvious advice. Heat kills. But in Ontario, the government doesn't even track heat-related deaths.
Shame.
In Northern Ontario, the Mattawagri First Nation were among this season's first wildfire evacuees. 7 fires are burning, 1 is out of control. But in Ford's Ontario, there are not enough fire crews, and they don't have enough equipment. Right now in Ontario, we face 2 major climate catastrophes. One is a supercharged El Nino, powerful and unpredictable. The other is Doug Ford, powerful, predictable, and supercharged on bad ideas. Ford has a track record of climate backsliding. Now it's a full-scale assault. 6 months ago, Ford canceled Ontario's climate plan. He buried it in a piece of legislation actually called the Protecting Ontario Plan. We live in a province without a climate plan. There are no climate goals, no emission targets, no timelines, no obligation to report to the public. Ford's Ontario has become a climate outlier, joining Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Trump's America. In the climate crisis, governments have a moral and increasingly a legal obligation to do 3 things. First, protect families and communities from the loss and damage of extreme weather. Second, prevent more global heating, more climate disasters. Third, promote clean and cheap renewable energy so we can stop burning fossil fuels.
Yes!
That's the 3 P's of climate action. Protect us from harm, prevent climate chaos, promote clean and affordable energy. But when it comes to protection, we've seen the Ford ads. Pipelines and highways we don't need. Protection for big developers, big construction companies, big energy companies.
Shame.
When it comes to prevention, Ford is more interested in stopping protesters than climate breakdowns. And when it comes to promoting clean and affordable energy, Ford would rather promote Enbridge Gas and Atkins Realis. A few quick facts. In the last 2 years, Ontario had the largest increase in climate-wrecking pollution in all of Canada. Our energy minister wages a culture war, calling renewable energy supporters ideologues. Ford changed the energy regulations. We are now being charged for nuclear and energy before the plants are even built. So Ford has walked away from the responsibility to protect Ontario families. That's a callous betrayal. Ford has turned his back on future generations, abandoning them to climate breakdown. That is unforgivable. Ontario needs a climate action plan.
Yes!
On climate, and on so many issues, Ford tries to make us feel divided and make us feel defeated. But he will fail. He underestimates our power. Thanks. But Ontario needs a climate plan. Please take a minute and sign it. Thank you.
All right, so next up we've got my friend at this point, JJ, coming up to talk about feeling Bill C5.
Hi, my name's JJ. I'm another climate activist. And, whenever I think about what I'd like to say at these events, I always do so with the hope Doug Ford will hear them. I doubt it, but it's technically possible. And there's always a part of me that wonders how he'd respond. I'd wonder if he'd look like someone like me in the eye. As the climate crisis continues to worsen, the future of my generation becomes increasingly controversial. I spent my childhood watching as the world burned around me. I can pinpoint when the heat waves started getting bad in Ontario. I remember being 12 years old and getting so ill while out on a walk that I threw up on someone's lawn. I can't count the amount of times I've gotten heat exhaustion since. I remember attending my first protest at 6 years old, fighting for the same cause that I am at 18, for our governments to stop viewing the lives of their citizens as collateral damage. Last summer, Doug Ford passed Bill 5. It let him repeal the Endangered Species Act and designate his development projects as exempt from following environmental regulations and provincial law. Now he's using it to destroy our city's waterfront, all at the behest of an American investment company. Doug Ford, would you stand here and look your people in the eye as your actions destroy the future of generations, the future inherited by your children? As you put financial incentives over the lives of your citizens? I said it the last time I spoke here, there is no economic growth on a dead planet. And yes, I know it's a bit of a cliche to hear in speeches about the climate, but Doug Ford, I really hope you know, when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish been caught, and the last stream poisoned, you will realize we cannot eat money. Thank you.
Imagine that, graduating from high school, but having these worries, it really makes me upset that our young people are having to take on this mantle of having to protect everyone from a leader like the Premier. Actually, I just want to give a personal opinion. I really feel like this is my second time around fighting with the Premier. There was Harris before this that I had a big fight with. And I'm just starting to think that the role of Premier, maybe it's got too much power in it. Like if we can kind of get a little more control over what they're able to do, because who saw it coming that they could just hide everything they're doing? Like the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility, that was audited, had a financial audit, and now the police are looking into it. And they sent the document, all pages, I don't know, 130 pages are redacted. Can't read anything about what's happening with that audit or what criminal things they're looking into. Anyway, we're moving on to our next speaker. Sorry? Oh yeah, John wants to call on a couple of people.
So I haven't managed to make contact with him yet. I'm hoping he's here. TJ, are you here? TJ Sings, Students Against Austerity. Okay, no worries. So we'll move on to Bruce McIntosh, Ontario Autism Coalition. Bruce, come on up. Coalition, Michelle Robidoux, would you come on up?
Thank you very much. It's really fantastic that people are here. It was a busy weekend with Pride and all the things, and I think it was a good decision to do this tonight and keep the streets buzzing with protest against Ford. I'm just going to say a couple of things about the state of healthcare because honestly, it's true. We could spend all night here talking about all the various ways that Ford is destroying every last bit of anything that is okay or good, and dumping so much shit on all of us. But specifically on healthcare, I think the thing everybody has to understand, the Ford government has launched a huge advertising campaign, which we're paying for, to tell us that it's spending more than ever on healthcare. In reality, what they're spending more than ever on is privatizing healthcare. They've been underfunding our public hospitals, paving the way for the privatization of the care provided by those hospitals. $1 billion that should have funded public hospitals has been allocated to funding private clinics, to privatize our healthcare. This is this is it, folks. They are privatizing public healthcare. We know what's happening in Alberta with Danielle Smith. Apologies for that. And Ford is right in there. Hospitals across Ontario are running deficits. 60% of hospitals. 60% of hospitals in Ontario, the richest province, one of the richest places you can live, are in deficit. The Ottawa Hospital is cutting 400 staff. It's 3% of their staff because of this deficit. They're cutting frontline nurses and orderlies, but the Ministry of Health and Sylvia Jones say these are changes that won't affect patient care. Ontario funds healthcare and hospitals at the lowest rate of any province. This is designed to create the conditions for a crisis to justify privatization. They bring in privatization as the solution. Ontario already has the worst nurse-to-patient ratio in all of Canada. And the Ford government's underfunding of the public health system is so severe that so many hospitals are targeting frontline staff. At the Bruyere Health Centre in Ottawa, 55 positions were eliminated 2 months ago. In Oshawa, Lakeridge Health, they've eliminated more than 40 jobs in the past year, even though the number of patients and therefore the workload has increased. In March, management informed the union at Lakeridge Health that nursing staff would now have to serve meals because they eliminated full-time orderly positions. In Hamilton, at St. Joseph's Healthcare, to compensate for provincial underfunding, hospital management chose to eliminate more than 60 positions among personal support workers and administrative staff. So all of the ads that we're seeing, just keep that in mind when you're hearing these ads, that they're doing more funding than ever. It's to privatize healthcare. It is to open up private clinics. And the funding they're providing to hospitals is not keeping up with inflation. I want to just say, I think that there's a lot on this file, but I want to say something about what we're doing next. This summer, we're going to be petitioning because the Doug Ford government is absolutely in the center of our sights. But the federal government has a job to do to enforce the Canada Health Act. They're not doing it. They're allowing Ford to get away with this. So we have a petition here. Come and see me. Sign the petition to call on them to enforce the Canada Health Act. Support the OPSU strikers who are out right now. That is part of fighting for healthcare. And I salute all of the people who have been out there picketing, join the picket lines, assisting at the other places across town. This fall we'll be doing town halls on building the fight back. And on September 23rd, we'll be joining the Grassy Narrows River Run. Our solidarity is the kryptonite we need against Ford. And if you think about Grassy Narrows, if you think about the Walkerton scandal under Mike Harris, how fast did that get resolved? Compare it to what's happening at Grassy Narrows. Decades of poisoning people, knowing you're poisoning people, saying you'll compensate them and not doing it. So September 23rd, I think every single one of us should be there to support that fight. It's a fight for healthcare, it's a fight for justice, it's a fight for everyone.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And one of the reasons I mentioned at the beginning that we're having a very broad spectrum is so that we can see about this flooding the zone, what's happening in almost every area of our lives. And shame on this government. And shame on them not listening to people like Chris Glover, Marit Stiles, who are there working their buns off every day And they just ignore them. They even have a glow in their eyes when they're using their majority power. To me, that's not democracy. You may have the majority, but that doesn't mean you have to be a...
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
Here, that before the end of the night, if you can sign it. This one is Repeal Bill 5 that JJ was talking about, and restore the rule of law, special economic zones to stop that nonsense. The other one, if you weren't here last time, we had this petition out. This one, one of the MPPs is going to be presenting this in September. It is basically the democratic processes that we're talking about where, you know, the policy of this government is to basically ignore the rest of us and rush things through late at night, rush legislation through without the proper consultation. So this petition here is the request to end that. So if you'd like to sign them, and I know another group has the AI centers, they have their own petition and they're going around with that. So we've got lots of pens here. Our next our next speaker, TJ Singh and Madeline, are coming up to speak. They are from Students Against Austerity.
Hello, I am a student at the University of Toronto and an organizer with the group called Students Against Austerity, or Ontario Students Against Austerity. We're a grassroots network of students that formed to combat the OSAP cuts that Ford announced in March. I am here today to speak to you about how students have been fighting back against the Ford government. Doug Ford tells us over and over that there is no money. No money for schools, no money for hospitals, no money for housing, transit, or decent wages. But somehow, there is always money for tax cuts, corporations, and wealthy insiders. This was the story with the budget cuts to the colleges last summer. We had no money for the public colleges, but millions to divert into the Skills Development Fund to benefit Ford's wealthy corporate friends. And now, he's telling us the same story about OSAP. Shame on this government for their shameful lies. Austerity is not simply about balancing budgets. It is a political choice to transfer public wealth into private hands. Governments underfund our institutions. Then they point to the crumbling infrastructure that they created and tell us that private interests must swoop in to save the day. But who stands to gain? Like in Billy Bishop's sell-off to JP Morgan, it is the big owners of financial capital, or in so many words, the capitalists, who gain from buying up our public resources. This is a bailout of society's wealthiest at the expense of everybody else. When our public services are privatized, citizens pay more while corporations profit. When public jobs are contracted out, workers face lower wages and worse benefits. When public assets are sold off, we lose democratic control over the resources that belong to all of us. The people paying the price are TTC workers working impossible shifts, teachers buying classroom supplies out of their own pockets, and families suffering long wait times for crucial medical care. The wealthy are facing a crisis in profitability, which is why they need to privatize our wealth. It is time that we refuse to pay for their crisis. Doug Ford wants us to be divided. He wants you to think that it's only the basket-weaving art students who are impacted by austerity. He wants us to be divided along the lines of this fake culture war. But I saw for myself our OCAD students standing alongside blue-collar TTC electricians who were preparing to go on strike in protest of this economic crisis of austerity that affects all of us. Doug Ford doesn't want us to realize that we have strength in numbers, because numbers have the power to overthrow governments. It's time now that we escalate our fight against Ford. We have tried petitions, protests, and public call-outs. The truth is, Ford and his cabinet do not care. They will not be swayed or moved by these alone. They are demagogues that thrive off of bad press and controversy. The only way to hurt them is to threaten the one thing that they care about most, which is their ability for them and their friends to make profit. We must halt the daily economic activity and business as usual of this province, because all of the profit of this financial system and province is ultimately collateralized on oil, on real estate and commodity sales that drillers, construction workers, and truckers produce. Because our public services depend on the QP healthcare workers, on the CUP-W postal workers, and on the OPSU education workers that keep our institutions running. The only way for students to bring our university administration to the negotiating table is a student strike. The only way that we will bring this Ford government to the negotiating table is a general strike. That's why we, Ontario Students Against Austerity, call on workers, students, and Ontarians to begin mobilizing for a strike. We declare our intention to Mr. Ford that we will have a student strike against him. We are striking because Ontario does not belong to Ford's buddies and private corporations. It belongs to the hard-working people of Ontario who built this province. We are striking to declare that our public services are not for sale, that the Greenbelt is not for sale, healthcare is not for sale, and education is not for sale. Ontario is not for sale. Thank you, folks. Please contribute your time and resources by volunteering with us at Ontario Students Against Austerity. Visit our table in the back and talk to our folks that are there. And thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm a supporter of SAA, but I'd like to discuss more about the weapon that is being used as a hammer to bludgeon the working class into submission: austerity. It is important to understand austerity for what it really is, not just a loose term defining a set of policies, but rather what it fundamentally is, a dangerous idea that attacks the very way of life of the working class. All over the world, politicians, workers, and economists are sounding capitalism's death knell. Spearheaded by economists and sympathetic governments, austerity is the capitalist class's rejection of the loud cries for social change and their entrenchment of capitalism as the only option. Austerity has emerged as a political and economic doctrine that seeks to make working people bear the costs of crises they did not create and transfers wealth upward while demanding sacrifice from workers, students, pensioners, and the poor. So as we stand here today, austerity is being continued to be used as an operating tool for the elite class, more precisely as a tool of class warfare conducted through budgets. One thing must be clear: austerity is not an unfortunate necessity. It is a deliberate attack at the working class to dismantle public life, weaken solidarity, and transfer wealth upward. We must recognize then that the OSAP cuts are not a solitary issue, but rather form part of a larger pattern of attacks. The present assault on public education through the OSAP cuts undermines the social wage wrested by workers and students over the course of decades of labor and civil rights struggles. Access to education is a central asset of the social wage because it provides opportunities for a meaningful life as well as class mobility. In higher education, the social wage accrues in affordable tuition and financial aid. If we fail to reverse these cuts, it will be a big capitulation to the elite class and will only embolden further attacks on the working class. These attacks will come from every level, as we can see the same measures unfolding at the federal level. Especially in regards to recent events, the political economic elite nexus would only be further incentivized to carry on these attacks, as a trade war with the US looms ahead, and the possibility of conflict with Iran, leading to disastrous levels of international economic dislocation. The Canadian government, both provincial and federal, seems quite ready to respond to the threat of trade war by adopting measures of class war at home. It has become clear that a period of unprecedented austerity is now coming down on the working class in Canada. But instead of quiet resignation to this assault, we can use this as an opportunity to turn the situation on its head for the elite, as the united attack of Canada's ruling establishment will open the door for some major and decisive class battles in the period opening before us. And now would be a good time to remind the world of a basic principle, especially the elites. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Incredible, thank you so much.
Speaking of austerity, we have a few costs to put this together. It's about $200 to get the speakers the last couple of times. If anyone has some cash to offer, I'm going to ask a couple of people to pass around our containers to collect $5 or $10 if you have it and are willing to part with it. Sorry, John?
Yeah, it's just me and our uncle helped us bring these speakers down from Long and McCoy about an hour ago. So yeah, maybe drop some change in the bucket. It'd be appreciated. Next I want to bring up Gabe Blanc. He's my neighbor, as we learned last time, and he's off his crutches. Look at that, everybody. If you were here last month, remember how much effort he put in to be with us here today. Gabe.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening. I think that if I asked all of you the first thing that the Premier did that pissed you off, I could get a different answer from every single one of you. 100 of you, I could get 100 different answers. Is that right? Yeah? Why don't we all yell it out at the same time? 3, 2, 1. He said run for office. I think he was pissed off when Doug Ford ran for office for the first time. I get it. This is a Trump tactic. You know it well. It's called flooding the zone. The full name is, I won't say. But the point is, he spews faster than we can swim. Which is why it is so, so important that you are still here every month. And in all of your respective coalitions, whether it's Seniors for Climate Action or the Ontario Health Coalition, that you keep the pressure up and that you continue to add friction and remind him that he has no majority, none at all. It is a false majority, and you have to keep that pressure up. You have a real opportunity in the coming months, which is the municipal midterm. He took away the provincial election, the opportunity that you should have had to show him that you do not consent. But you still have that opportunity through the municipal elections, if he allows them to happen. Who knows, right? So take that opportunity, add friction, add costs, support municipal candidates who are going to be fighters against the Premier's austerity agenda. You can find them. They're all over the province from Cornwall to Kenora. So I believe in you. You give me hope. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dave. All right, running a little short on time. Next up, we're going to bring up Alex Connell-Fong to sort of talk to you about bike lanes once again. Give it up for Alex.
Okay, quick question for all of you. How many of you biked in Toronto this week? That is so amazing to see. So we all know bikes are booming, but Doug Ford is fuming. Now, raise your hand if you know about Bill 212. So for those that don't, it's the anti-bike lane law he passed, which you can't build a bike lane if it removes a car lane. The ban was originally for prescribed municipalities, and in their laziness, the province didn't prescribe any municipality. But a year later, Bill 60 applied the ban to every Ontario municipality. The government buried it inside a massive housing bill, shutting down debate. Shame on you! Through an FOI, we later learned that instead of helping cities build safe infrastructure, Ford's top government officials held weekly bike lane meetings for months after the election, discussing which bike lanes to rip up next. They've created this narrative that bike lanes only benefit cyclists, and this is a false narrative. All of us here know that bike lanes improve traffic and keep people safe. The data is clear. More bike lanes mean more people biking, and this means fewer cars on the road, less traffic, and less danger, which is good for drivers. Now, convincing people of this is how we build support. So here's my challenge to all of you. Talk to your friends, your family, your co-workers, and especially people who drive to Toronto for work. Make it clear supporting bike lanes means better and safer commutes for all and a better drive for you. And make it clear the benefits will still apply even if the bike lane removes a lane of traffic. Now, right now, we have an opportunity. Public opinion is shifting on Ford, and many of the suburban ridings are no longer safe. If we can make this an election issue with suburban commuters, if we can make the bike lanes a part of the solution to traffic, we can pressure Ford to repeal these anti-bike laws. Now, the last thing before I go, one more thing. Go on your phones and follow Tom Flood on Instagram. Flood as in too much water. Tom Flood runs Rovelo Creative. He creates simple, shareable graphics that tell the truth about bike lanes. His work helps make those hard conversations easier. Follow, share, and spread his word and spread the word so that we can stop this misinformation about bike lanes. All of us, including drivers, want safer streets, less congestion, and fewer cars on the road, and that's the future we're fighting for. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm so happy that all of you came out here today. I just want to give yourselves like a huge round of applause. It's Monday, it's the evening, we're tired. I work today, you work today. Thank you so much for being here. We've heard from so many people with these, confluent but differing issues. All of us have these different things that resonate with us more or less. I want to bring up somebody today who's going to talk about a really interesting way that we can kind of tie all of these things together and figure out what we're going to do about it. Adrian Curry from Fairvote, here we go.
Thanks, John. Thank you so much. Kudos to all of you for showing up today. Weekend after Pride, I know we're all tired, but the weather's getting nicer and it's getting hot. And you know what? Canada is kicking butt in the World Cup. So, as John said, we're all here talking about a lot of different issues. And there's so many that we can't even count. Gabe was right. There's probably more than 100 different issues that have pissed almost every one of us off here. But the secret to changing and getting the change that we want is voting system reform. Now, I hate to pour cold water on you because no matter how much we protest, no matter how many petitions we sign, no matter how many eggs we throw at this building behind us, nothing's going to change because the government holds all the cards. Why? Because they have a false majority. This government got 45% of the popular vote, yet they got 65% of the seats and 100% of the power. Why is that? It's because of our voting system. The first past the post system has to go. If you want effective change, if you want your campaigns to succeed, if you want more bike lanes, more funding for education, more funding for healthcare, then we need to change our voting system. We need proportional representation. If a party gets 10% of the vote, they should get 10% of the seats. If they get 30% of the vote, they should get 30% of the seats. And the result of that is that we'll have pretty much all political parties at the table right here in the park behind us, debating policies, debating legislation that represents all of us. So, the call to action is, when someone comes knocking on your door and they say they want your vote, you say, repeat after me, not unless you support PR. We have to make this a ballot issue. Every single candidate from every single party has to be behind proportional representation. That way we can get a majority of people in Queen's Park or federally in Parliament who supports PR, and we can pass legislation to change our voting system. I can tell you, research has shown the Liberals won't change the voting system. We know that because Justin Trudeau lied. The Conservatives aren't going to change the voting system because they don't even believe in climate change. Our cities are burning, they're flooding, and they don't even know what GHGs are. They don't know what greenhouse gases are. So we cannot depend on the politicians. We have to take agency. So, join Fair Vote Canada. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your co-workers, talk to your friends, talk to strangers, and talk about the need to change our voting system. We've got to stop treating the symptoms and get to the root of the problem. Yes, you can't treat a cold by just, sleeping and talking about, I want to get better. No, you got to get lots of rest, you got to drink lots of liquids, you got to take vitamin C, and that's how you beat the cold. If you want to beat Doug Ford, you can yell and scream all you want, you can sign all the petitions you want, but at the end of the day, you've got to talk to your neighbors, you've got to talk to your friends, you've got to talk to your co-workers about voting system reform. My friends here at Fair Vote Canada, standing behind me, desk over there getting sign-ups, we've had these wonderful signs. We understand the situation. We need to get to the root of the problem. So, if you want real change, if you want more protective bike lanes, if you want better funding for hospitals and healthcare, if you want nurses to get better pay, if you want teachers to get better pay and more support, if you want anything that's going to move our society and move our wonderful city ahead, we need voting system reform. Hey ho, this slug's got to go. Hey ho ho, the slugs have got to go. Voting system reform. Join Fair Vote Canada. Thank you.
I'm very humbled by all of the great speakers that we've had tonight. It's been amazing, and the weather's cooperated. So our final thing to do here is to do our march and to make it clear to whatever motorists are out there what we stand for. So we're going to be marching around the back of the Queen's Park Legislature, along the sidewalk on Wellesley, and back here again, because the other route that we had last time was very inaccessible, so we're trying to make it more user-friendly. So we'll play a little bit of music, and then, I think you had something that you wanted to talk about in September? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna just mention the date and the I don't think, what's your name? Say?
Hey guys, I see that you're far back. Can you bring your energy forward? I need everyone to come up to the front. I need to feel your energy. And there's a reason for it. We need to be excited. These people put this event together and we want change to happen, right? So I really want a favor from you guys all. If you could talk about health equity or chant health equity, it is so key to what the conversation that I'm going to have with you today. So how many people here that are all around, even the police officers in the back, can put up their hand and talk about if they've been to a hospital, a clinic, a doctor since January? Has anyone been here to the hospital? Okay, a majority, right? About, I don't know, 85% of the people? And I'm sure these officers here have been to the hospital too at some point. So my name is Marianne McMullen. I'm a patient care advisor and a health equity advocate for Ontario Health. I've been part of this health team since 2021. I have used my lived experience to bring to the table, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there's 52 health teams that are across Ontario. Do you want to know how much money these people make in just 1 year, or how much they get for a grant? Can anyone guess? Okay, $262 million that are going to community organizations to help you and I to get attached to care. So if something happens in the hospital, we rely on these community services that are out there to help support us and give us wraparound services, right? So here's a little bit of a story from my end. I've had 3 surgeries in the last 30 days. The first 2 surgeries were at Mount Sinai, and when I was at Mount Sinai, I did not get any form of wraparound care. I spent 5 years volunteering my time to get supporting this, helping by getting these people funding, and I couldn't even get any help. And then the next thing I know, when I leave that hospital, I didn't even get enough medication. I didn't get any referral to a doctor. I relapsed in 1 week. My whole organ inflamed. I almost died. So you know what, Doug, I'm here to like really be for this and for what everyone is doing, because health, what do we need in our system, guys? We need health equity. Okay, I can't hear you. I need your energy, guys. A little louder. Health equity. Okay, so yeah. So just on that note, Patrick and myself, we lead a health equity group, and we're actually putting a lived experience summit together on September 6th, and we would love for you guys to come and be a part of it. It's free. The venue's booked. There's free food and free drinks. And we're gonna have the people that are in the municipal government coming up, the elect city councilors, and you can address your concerns and your lived experience to them directly. So if you want to join with us on September 6th, just feel free to approach us, okay? All right, thanks guys.
All right, we're going to start a little bit of music, and
however, the island of the fight to save it. We're going to have a speaker from Nojad's Teal and a speaker from Cape on health impacts of the proposed island expansion. And unfortunately, I couldn't make flyers in time for tonight, but if you look on Climate Fast, in a few days, you'll see all the details. July 13th, it's a Monday, 6 p.m., sorry. Yep, thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to start having a leisurely march. Like I said, I know you're all very tired after your long and trying Monday. And a special rule, we are going to be following the frog. So new route, and everybody just follow Fifth of the Frog over there. All right, let's march, people. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're saying we want a moratorium.